3.1, Cartesian coordinate system and ordered pairs. So the Cartesian coordinate system is just a fancy way to say graphing. And if I haven't told you guys this, a lot of math terms, and some of you have seen this, I think, where you notice that there's a lot of math terms that they use, but then once you get used to them, they change the word. But it means the same thing, right? That's to make us look smarter than we are. So we use big words sometimes. I mean, not always big words, like slope isn't really a big word. But Cartesian is like, whoa, that's pretty freaking, what the heck? You got to Google that just to figure out what that is or who it was, right? So a Cartesian coordinate system is just a graph, that's all it is, okay? And then ordered pairs are locations on a Cartesian coordinate system, which is, again, just a graph. So we've seen number lines before already in this class, and we're hopefully pretty familiar with these horizontal ones, right? Like we put 0 right in the middle, and then maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Maybe label every fifth one, and I know these aren't equidistant, but I really don't care. Hopefully you don't. And then you say, hey, there's -5 right there, okay? Now, we can do the same thing with a vertical number line. For those of you that are old enough, and I don't know how many of you are, but that would be like a thermometer, right? Back in my day, we used to break those things and have to try to stab each other, which is probably why we are the way we are. But in any case, I got suspended once. In any case, okay, so in any case, right? So it goes up and down. Upwards is positive, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then downwards is the negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now these are kind of individual number lines right now. I'm going to see if I can do this with the technology without jacking things up, because if I can't, then I'll have to redo it. Okay, so the Cartesian coordinate system is taking both lines and combining them, specifically at 0. Okay, so no, that's not going to work. See that garbage? So you put that right in the middle. I'll just draw it up. Okay, so see, no, there it is. And no, my lines aren't perfect, but it'll work. And so there's 0 right in the middle where that horizontal number line is. Some of you know what it's called, and we'll get to that. But upwards again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then downwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's -5, okay? So it creates a grid, which looks better if you do it on a computer, like this. All right, so not all the ones you're going to see on the homework are usually this big. I think they usually go into a 5 by 5, something more similar to what I have here on the right. All right, so now once again, these are just it's a horizontal number line combined with the vertical number line right here. So yeah, upwards. If you look at the up and down line, upwards is positive, downwards is negative. And if you look at the horizontal number line, still like we have been doing, positive is to the right, negatives to the left. Okay, and then in Utah, they kind of structured the streets many years ago to look more like a grid like this, okay? So when we say an ordered pair, and we'll get more into this, but an ordered pair indicates an intersection of, well, you could call these streets, right? So like this intersection could be represented by an ordered pair so that you know exactly where that location is based on the grid that's given, okay? That is kind of the beauty of the whole Cartesian coordinate system. If you want to sound smart, if you want to just sound like a layperson, which is what I prefer, is just a graph. Yeah, some of you notice, I think there's a place called Highland Drive somewhere, and it kind of goes like this. It's like, what the crap happened right there? I think it follows a river. I don't really care, but they do it from time to time, right? Okay, yeah, you do have to be careful on these scales because sometimes, and usually these lines represent 1, like that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But from time to time, they'll go in and they'll say, hey, watch this, that's 4 right there. Sorry, that's kind of a small 4. That's 4 right there, okay? If you got to be able to notice that stuff because it's going to change the values that you have. And then if they give you a point right here, yeah, that will change the ordered pair of that point right there. But be careful because Canvas won't explicitly say, hey, I've changed the scale for you, but it will do that, okay? The grid, well, I guess we could have seen that on the last one, but even right here, see now this one goes to six units out, right, left, up, and down. But you can see it kind of creates these 4 sections, and in mathematics we call these quadrants. And as weird as this may sound, like if you really, I've told you guys several different ways to really upset math people. It doesn't really bother me that much because I mean, I'm nerdy, I try to limit my nerdiness, but if you, quadrant 1 right here, see how that's a Roman numeral? If you see a math person, don't use a Roman numeral, see what happens, okay? It's not pretty, it's not really threatening, it's just not pretty, you know what I'm saying? So quadrant 2, and this goes counterclockwise because mental abuse to humans, you know? So quadrant 3 and then quadrant 4 like this, okay? So, and it starts in the top right, and then it has an effect on the ordered pairs, which I guess we will, yeah, we did the coordinates. So let's look at our ordered pairs. Ordered pairs kind of look like what we've seen as interval notation, but again, these are representative of positions or locations on the graph, all right? Now, it's always alphabetical, and it's always x and y. The x value is always first, so this is our x value there on the left, and then the one on the right is the y value, okay? Well, why is it called the x and y value? Because the two number lines that we saw, and this one kind of demonstrates it, this horizontal number line is called the x-axis, which represents the x values, okay? Or if you wanted to think about it in terms of a street grid, it would be a street on the grid, okay? Like one you could say is first street, and then second street, and third street, and fourth street, and so forth, right? And then, of course, downwards on a map, you'd say it's just south or, I guess, west, if I have that down right. So that the horizontal number line is the x-axis. The vertical number line here is, oh, I should draw that. This is what we call the y-axis, okay? And again, this represents the streets for the y values. And so again, where they intersect on the x streets, kind of like what we see right here, that's representative of 1, 2. Now, do notice the parentheses. That is required when showing ordered pairs. If you don't show parentheses, it just looks like you're listing numbers, and we don't really know what the crap you're doing. Now, if it's a graph, of course, we would know that this is an ordered pair. If it were some kind of interval, then it would represent something very different. That's only one-dimensional, though. All right, so, and this one calls it a coordinate, x-coordinate, y-coordinate. That's x value, y value. Same thing. Like I said, math people use lots of different words to mean the same thing. Y value, x value, y value kind of stuff, okay? Now, right here in the middle, I kind of zoom in on this. Right where the two lines meet, some people say, hey, look at that 0 right there. Now, it looks like a 0, but it's actually an O. It's O for origin. Oops, origin, okay? So that O right there is the origin because that's where both number lines begin, whether you're going east, west, north or south, up, down, left, right, okay? And then, of course, we did the x and y axis. I guess we kind of labeled these. I'm just not going to fill those in. Sorry. Yeah, we are getting to something deeper than just vocabulary. But if we don't understand the vocabulary, if I say x value, and you look at this one right here, then it's like, okay, we got bigger problems than just doing the math, okay? It's a vocabulary problem. All right, so we got to identify the location of each of these points. And it looks like we'll start with A. Well, we got to identify where A is. Boom, found it, right there in the middle. This one doesn't have the little O right there. So we got to write the location and the ordered pair. Now I'm going to start with the ordered pair for these. And if you're doing this by hand, which I don't think you have to on the homework, but you could just kind of put these out there like this, okay? And I'll see if the technology will help me. I don't know if that was a huge success, but I'll take it. No, it's not lining up. All right, what the crap did I just do? I just set up the parentheses with the comma in between, and then I know I just can fill in the x values in this pretty much like a column, which is important for you to understand. And then the y values, just I'll fill in these spaces right here, okay? Now let's look at A. Where is it? Well, it's right where the two lines intersect, okay? And remember, it's not showing this, but it usually does. This is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. They don't write axis when they do this, but they usually show an x and y like this. So we would look first at the x value because that's this one right here, the first one. That's the one I usually start with anyways. And I'd say, well, what's the x value on this? Just on this number line. I'm ignoring pretty much all the other lines here right now. So let's see if we can kind of give ourselves, kind of force ourselves to see a little bit of tunnel vision, okay? So I'm ignoring this, and I'm ignoring this, okay? So I'm looking at this as an x number line. What's the value of the x there? As far as I can see, it's 0. It's right in the middle, right between 1 and -1, right? Well, now that I've done that, now I can do the same thing with the x's. And again, if I wanted to force myself to have some tunnel vision here, be looking at this vertical number line, the y-axis, and yep, that one is right in the middle, right between 1 and -1, which is 0. Okay? So b, right here, again, I would start with the x value for me. You can start with the y if you'd like, but I like to do this from left to right. So the b, it's even showing it's at 1 right there because it's on the x-axis. So that would be a 1 for the x value. And then it's right on that horizontal number line, but it corresponds with the center right here. So, you know, Center Street or Main Street, if you want to think about it in terms of streets, which means it's right in the middle. There's that. It has a y value of 0 because it's not up or down from that Main Street, okay? Okay, well, there's B. We'll try to color code these. And then C, right there. So again, it's x value. It's kind of corresponding right here. That's -4. You can count it, but I'm just looking at the number there. There's -4. And then it's y value. And it's okay, of course, to put these little lines. I guess I'm dotting them, but see, that's still at 0 right there. And yes, I'll get to the location here in a second, but I just want to order pairs first. Although you could do the location right now if you wanted. So where's D? Boom, found it. So what is its x value? It corresponds here with -3. Guess we need a comma there. And what's its y value? Well, I would follow this street over here till I reach the y street, or the y-axis, which is, looks like that's 2. Okay, so there's, what is that, D? Next up, E, right? So there's E. Again, the x value here, it looks like it is 3. And so the y value, just follow this street over here, that is -3rd Street, or 3rd South, if you wanted to look at it that way. Then F, where the heck is it? Oh, there it is. So again, it's x value, that corresponds with the center right there at 0. And then it's just right next to that y value, showing it -3. And then finally G corresponds first with 1 on its x value, and then its y value there is 3, okay? So these are locations of intersections, and again, it's kind of how our coordinate mapping type system works. So now that I have the ordered pairs, though, let's identify the location of these values, okay? So I'm going to start with A. See how it's right in the middle, right where it's at 0, 0, which is the origin. All right, so there's my origin. I think I do a better end than that. There we go. And then B. Where did B go? Oh, there it is. That is right on the x-axis. It's not actually in a quadrant, which you'll have to know for the homework. And then C was right here. Yep. Oh, -4, 0. That's right there. There we go. -4, 0. Oh, what the heck did I do? I covered it up, dang it. That's at -1 right there, okay? Don't make that mistake right there, covering it up with all the pretty colors. Yeah, that's in quadrant, and if you wanted to show the quadrants, of course, you could. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's in quadrant 3 right there. So I'll just put, some people just put Q3, and that's fine with me. But again, the Roman numeral thing, just math people. And then -3, 2, that's D. So that's in quadrant 2, I see that. So quadrant 2. And then the blue point, that is, that was E, right? Yeah, that's in quadrant 4. So quadrant 4. And then 0, -3. It's right on the y-axis right there. So I'll just write this down as y-axis. And then 1, 3. 1, 3, that's G, right? So that's in quadrant 1. Boom. All right, so we've identified all the locations of the points and their corresponding ordered pairs. And, well, you'll have to do that on the homework. Maybe I spent more time on that than I should have, but it's a decent exercise. Again, if I say 1, 3, and you're like, I don't know where the crap that is on this graph, then we're gonna have bigger problems a lot later, okay? It's pretty crucial that you can identify and locate points, not only the ones that are already on the graph, but that if we give you a point, that you can put that on the graph too. Well, guess what we got to do next? Yeah, we got to take the points and put them on the graph. It does say to identify the location, but that's okay. I guess I still will. So I guess I'll label this one A, so negative 4, 5, and usually these are numbered for us. We'll just say that each line is a unit, and you do have to be careful because sometimes Canvas will change the scale of the graph, okay? All right, so A, well, I'm gonna call this A, and I guess I'll just make it blue. So negative 4, 5, right? So again, negative 4, I start with the x's. So from the center, I go to the left 4, because it's negative. And then I'd go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom, there it is. And I guess if you want to label that, that's fine. I'll put an A next to it. Then we'll call this one B at 0, negative 2. So x is 0. There's 0 for x's. And then down 2, because it's negative, I found it. You know, make that a B. And then this one, C, negative 1, negative 3. So there's negative 1. Down 3, because I went left 1 on the x. That's negative 1. Now down 3 for the y's. 1, 2, 3. Boom. There is C. Pretty close to B right there. And then we'll call this one D at 1, negative 5. So there's the x value 1, 1 to the right of the center at 0. That's 1. And then that's negative 5. So down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. That is D. Call this one E right there, 5, 0. So that's an x value of 5. So from the center, we'll go to the right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that'd be 5. And then the 0 for the y value means it's not up or down at all. So again, I'll label that as E. And then F. I ran out of color, sorry. But 0, 0, yep, right in the center. That's the origin. I guess I'm calling that F. You could call it O if you wanted to. EF, and then finally G at 10, 8. So x is 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I found 10 on the x-axis, and then that's a positive 8, so up 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Boom. That's the point I'm going to call G. I should have labeled this before, but that's the x-axis, and that's the y-axis. So we have these all on the graph. Let's identify their locations. And to do that, we'll say, hey, there's quadrant 1, there's quadrant 2, there's quadrant 3, and here's quadrant 4, just to give us a little bit of reference, so we have to think about it every time. But negative 4, 5, the A, that's in quadrant, I can see that's right next to the 2. And I'll make that Q2, quadrant 2. 0, negative 2, B, that's on the y-axis. Just straight up and down y-axis line. And then C is negative 1, negative 3, I can see that's in quadrant 3. And then D at 1, negative 5, that's in quadrant 4. And then E at 5, 0, that's right on the x-axis. So it's not in a quadrant, it's on an axis, the x-axis. And then 0, 0, we should always know that that is the origin. And then finally 10, 8, yep, that's quadrant 1. Now, it's possible, and I think they do this more in like 900, 950, or 920, where they used to. It's what are the values of your x values and y values in quadrant 1? See, these are both positive because it's to the right and up always in this area. Or what about quadrant 2? Well, it'd be negative for x's and then positive for y's because it's left and up. See, I'm going from the origin each time. And then quadrant 3, that'd be negative and negative because it's left and down. And then quadrant 4, the x values are positive, but the y values are negative. So that'd be, because it's always right and down in this, no matter where you are in this quadrant, okay? I don't know that you'll see that on the homework, but I'm pointing that out because you may.